Good evening, everybody. My name's Laurie Miles. I'm going to invite Ian Russ, President, to give his President's Report.
G'day all. Welcome again to the December meeting. Normally it's at this meeting we have a few festivities and maybe even a little bit of frivolity, Christmas cake and a tea and a coffee. But I guess tonight it's up to you to BYO everything. Something that we're typically good at, especially when we go out camping. So just want to give you all a little bit of an update on what's been going on. Obviously, never ceases to amaze me just how much work does get done in the background. So obviously now that we're sort of after COVID, shall we say, especially in Victoria, we're starting to return to a little bit more normality. That obviously means that Yark will be, has now returned to an open state. I do remind you all that, you know, if you're going up there, you've got a book for every single person that goes up there, whether it be one of your children or your partner. We've got to know exact numbers of heads going up there, and you must book in. It's crucial. Although we're lucky that we can have the number that we have, it's still really important just in case we go over our limit. This will prevent us from that happening. Obviously, whilst you're up there, please, can I just remind you all, you know, we are still have to observe COVID conditions, which means hand sanitisation, keeping things clean, you know, coughing into the crook of your arm and maybe wearing masks if you can't observe the usual 1.5 metres distance. So just bit of common sense there, folks. But look, we're very lucky that we've got the club property open again, and make the most of it, as I know a lot of you will. Just a reminder though, don't forget it is fire season. So if you're going up there, can you please make sure that you observe all of the requirements to do with that. I'd also like to thank the driver, the Yark Management and Construction Committee. I think you guys have done an amazing job. They've held 2 invitation-only working bees, the last of which was just this last weekend with such warm weather about. And the amount of work they got done, I hear, is absolutely incredible. And if it wasn't for all of their kind support of all those volunteers in the club to put in that time and effort, we wouldn't have that facility open for us all to use. So a big thank you to them. Liz, great to see you back with us, and I hope that you're progressing well with your post-surgery hip operation. And of course, Angela Delalo's tied up now with a knee operation. So all the best to the two of you. Rules Subcommittee has obviously been working steadily away, and a draft version is currently with the club solicitors, and we're just waiting for their comment before it comes back for a little bit more work. Multi-purpose building, we're going to hear a little bit about that tonight. Obviously, due to the COVID lockdowns, there have been delays in doing anything within the club. One of those, of course, has been driver training. So I'd just like to thank the driver training team, Simon Musty and Chris Treble and their crew of fabulous trainers and instructors who have been looking after getting as many of these courses up and running as they can. So just a big thank you to them for that. Recently, I attended a Geelong function, Christmas function at Maud over in Western Suburbs. Amazing, the facilities at Maud. It was just absolutely incredible. You know, barbecues, toilets. It's just so clean and tidy, and big fire pit and plenty of chairs around it. It was just nice to just sit there and be smoked out by a bushfire for first time in so long, but it was great. Obviously, look, now that so many of the restrictions are lifted, we can now get out there and participate in our trips and social activities. And if you've got any training functions, don't forget to let Liz know. And if you've got any driver trips that you're planning, have a word to Viv. And obviously any social activities, you can talk to Sandra at this stage. And we are looking for somebody to assist with the social coordination of functions there, as Angela's taken a seat for the moment, especially with a knee operation. As we come up to Christmas, I just wanted to just let everybody know that I think it's really important that we all remember that this club is made up of volunteers. Yes, it's made up of members, but the tasks are all done by people voluntarily. And I think sometimes we all just have to remember that if it isn't for the work of those volunteers, then lots of things in this club just don't get done. If one or some or many of them make mistakes, it's rarely deliberate. So please give people the benefit of the doubt, but don't take things for granted. And don't forget, look, if the club's always looking for people to do things, extra support in areas. I just want to say it's incredible how much support we do get from our members. But if you're sitting there and you're saying, you know what could I do for the club? There's plenty of things. Don't be afraid to put your hand up. Give me a call, or give anybody in the committee a call, or ask a member who's been a member of the club for a number of years, and they'll all give you a little bit of an idea of where to go, or maybe even go up and do a Yark working bee. You'll be amazed how much fun you can have, and you'll learn so much about the club and the activities we run, etc. So, and remember, I was always brought up to believe that service to humanity is the best work of life, folks. So volunteers, thank you very much in our club. We have a bit of a milestone this month, and that is 30 years ago, Sandra put up her hand to say she was going to do Club Magazine. And since in that time, Sandra has been doing the magazine with Brian, and 30 years it is. So normally tonight I would be calling up Sandra and maybe, saying a little bit of a thank you and all the rest of it. And it's so hard to do in this environment. But can I just say, and on behalf of the club and the members, what an amazing effort. Our magazine has always been at the forefront of many others. We produce such a full colour quality magazine every month. And it's just an incredible achievement for us. And the work that you put in, Sandra and Brian, is outstanding. And so on behalf of the club, I'd just like to say a very special thank you from everybody. Thank you so very much. Finally, I just wanted to say, obviously, season's greetings to you all. Very Merry Christmas, and may 2021, sorry, be a much better year. All right, thank you. And back to you, Laurie. Thank you.
Okay, we're up to time for our guest speaker. Tonight's guest speaker is Ron Moon. For those people who are new to four-wheel driving, may not know Ron, but Ron's been around many years, used to run a four-wheel drive magazine and was the editor for many, many years. I have a great memory of a 38-day degree down at O'Toole's flat where in we drive, there's Ron doing a promo for track trailers. And I said to Heidi, that's Ron Moon. No, it's not. And he just walked over and says, g'day guys, you from the Toy Land Cruiser Club. I said, how did you know that? He says, well, you're all toy owners. You're dead right, Ron. And we had a chat, he invited us over, we had a great time. On that note, I'm going to show a short video and it'll just introduce Ron doing a couple of four-wheel drive things, and then we'll call Ron right in.
And then for the next 2 days, you have what I call the horror of the limestone. And it's slow going. it scratches the hell out of vehicles. Winds and through mallee scrub for most of the way.
Okay, Ron, call you in. You unmute yourself.
Yeah, I just did, mate. I was a little bit, looked forward to that with trepidation when you said you had something to show.
Was that okay?
Yeah, that was good. Great trip too. Fabulous trip. Probably the best coastal trip in Australia. That one across the Bight from Esperance to Ceduna. I've done it 3 times or so. And yeah, it's a fabulous, fabulous trip. But yeah, so thanks for having us, guys. It's a pleasure. So good news about Yark being open again, and that's really good. And Sandra and Brian doing 30 years of running the magazine. Now that takes something, I've got to tell you. I've run a few mags in my time, but yeah, 30 years is a long time to be doing it every month and doing the great work that you guys do. So congratulations, Sandra and Brian. That's well done. I've been lucky enough to earn a living, a full-time living out of, for the last 35 years, out of four-wheel driving and traveling and in Australia and around the world. And it's been an incredible, incredible ride, I've got to say. In 2007, I wasn't too sure what you guys wanted me to talk about or whatever. I mean, I could have talked about Cape York or the Kimberleys or Central Deserts or whatever. But some people said I should talk about our overseas travels. And in 2007, we started really traveling around the world. We've been to Africa quite a few times and America once or twice. And we decided that we'd like to travel from the southern tip of Africa to the northernmost tip. So that was back in 2007. So that generated into a trip around the world, and we're still doing that. We've got a vehicle in the United States which we head over to every year, apart from this year, and we spend a few months over in North America. You know, have done for the last 5 years, but we went across Russia and all that sort of stuff. So I thought I'd do a quick slideshow take you around the world in 20 minutes. And of some of our travels and some of the places we've seen and some of the people we meet. One of the great things about traveling like this in a vehicle, in your own vehicle at your own pace, you know, people talk about Africa and wildlife and Europe with its monuments and cathedrals and America with its incredible scenery. But I guess it's the people that make the trip. And we've met some fabulous, fabulous people. So, without further ado, I'd like to start this little slideshow. Okay, so let me start the slideshow. Of course, there's always paper, and you've always got it through government thingamabobs, and we ended up shipping our vehicle to Africa and starting in Natal, and heading up through Sani Pass, which is a fabulous drive up into the Drakensberg Ranges. And once you get to the top, you got to the highest pub in Africa, which you've got to have a drink at, you've got to say. Into Lesotho with its cowboys and prehistoric rock art. And then into Swaziland. You wouldn't want to be a cyclist there, would you? Pedestrians beware of lions and elephants. So, but yeah, so it's and then we headed down to the southernmost tip of Africa, Cape Agulhas, and then headed north up through the battlefields, Blood River, Iswandana, where the British lost 1,700 men against the Zulus. Fabulous battlefield to walk around. And nearby is Rorke's Drift, where 11 VCs were won in one day. So that's not far from Kruger. That's the Duke, the biggest tusker in Kruger. Across into Namibia, some fabulous sand dunes there. And Sosselvlei, that dune there makes Big Red look like a pimple. fabulous culture there of Herero women, Himba people, cattle herders, and San Bushmen. Lots of different tribes up there. This is one of our favourite national parks in all of Africa, Etosha. It's like Lake Eyre, but it's got this incredible melange of animals around. It's just phenomenal. Headed into Botswana, got a speeding fine. Oh dear. Chobe National Park, fabulous park with elephants and all that sort of stuff. It's into Zimbabwe and Victoria Falls, and then further into Zambia, up into the northeast of the country. Some great national parks through there. People there selling charcoal. No wonder the forest is getting pushed back wherever you go in Africa. These kids were in Malawi. Fabulous campsite there on the edge of Lake Malawi. Then into Mozambique. These people were really proud of their boat they built. This is what happens when you pull into a village. This guy's earning money, chipping rocks. This guy made a boat, 40-foot boat, with a hammer, chisel, and a hand drill. You often end up in predicaments. We'd crossed the border into Tanzania, and it was late at night. The ferry got bogged and grounded on the. It was accommodative errors. But anyway, we finally got off and ended up camping at the border post. And me and my mate wandered into town, into the village, and wondered where everybody was, and then we wandered back to our camp, and everybody was at our camp because these two young guys sitting down in front of Viv had cut themselves up with a machete in a fight, and then they'd come to the White Mazula to get fixed up. So Vivian's doing first aid on them. That had ramifications because next day we had a queue about 100 metres long of women with kids and distended bellies and broken legs and all that sort of stuff to come to the white lady, the white doctor, which she's not. It's a hell of a story. That's the main road from Tanzanian border, up to Dar es Salaam and Zanzibar. That's a great slaving port back in the early 1800s. Incredible amount of fish come ashore there. And they had this night market every night for the white tourists. And further into Tanzania, Lake Manyara, which is one of our favourite parks in Africa, just a fabulous park. A lot cheaper than Serengeti. Here we are camped on the lip of Urungura Crater, which is one of the great parks of Africa. Serengeti National Park, we followed the migration, million wildebeest, up into Kenya, and had it splurged a night at Giraffe Manor just outside Nairobi, where the giraffes stick their head through the windows and you can feed them and all this sort of stuff. It's an incredible experience. Expensive, and you've got to book about a year in front, but it is a fantastic experience. And then we went into Uganda and camped on the edge of the Nile, where it comes out of Lake Victoria. Fantastic place. This guy was a real delight. We stopped and spoke to him for a little while, and this is his father's cattle. His father had passed away a couple of years earlier, and he had inherited them. He was a lovely, lovely man. This is back in Kenya. We had to go through northern Kenya, heading north, reticulated giraffe, and met up with these nomads travelling across the desert. And then when we crossed into Ethiopia, we met this guy, Baruch. I am a genius, he says to us. I can take you anywhere. I know everybody. Everybody loves me. And he would come up with people all the time. This is in the Omo Valley. And he said, take a photograph of me, Ron. And he'd get the two kids or two people or whoever. And we'd take a photograph of them. And he'd go, okay, now you owe them 20 cents. So he was an incredible guide. We had him for a week. And he was always full of bullshit, I think. But anyway, he was fabulous. All the very different tribes of the Ono Valley. This guy here's got 7 scars on his chest, which indicates that he killed 7 men in battle. All the men carry semi-automatic rifles, protect their herds of cattle and things like that. And yeah, rather different. This is a beautiful young lady heading towards market. On the Sunday market, she's carrying honey and milk and that sort of thing, and she's just going off to market to sell those wares. Her husband was wandering off in front of her and not carrying anything, but she was absolutely striking. When you're in Ethiopia, you've got to have a coffee ceremony. And these incredible manuscripts are over 1,000 years old. And this young girl led me into the falls of the Blue Nile, where it comes out of Lake Tanya. And she was a little beauty. She spoke a little bit of English and looked after me really well as we walked into this incredible place in the middle of Ethiopia. Of course, then we crossed into Sudan and the Great Pyramids of Sudan, and met these fabulous people who let us camp on the edge of the Nile in their palm plantations. Then we crossed the desert. Of course, we think it's a great adventure crossing what is the Sahara Desert, but these guys just trundle along in their buses or whatever, and it's part of everyday life for them. Mind you, the sand was super, super soft. We ended up following the old railway line, sitting on top of it, in fact. Then we jumped the ferry from Wadi Halfa into Aswan on the Nile in Egypt. And of course, you've got to see all those incredible ruins of Egypt and the pyramids. Lake Alexandrina at the top. Then into, this is El Alamein, the Commonwealth Cemetery, and Siwa Oasis, which is deep in the desert down near the Libyan border. This is Cleopatra's Pool. Cleopatra and Mark Antony got together in here, and it's quite a historic place, deep in the desert. And these guys are Siwans. They're definitely not Egyptians. They don't want to be tarred with the same brush as an Egyptian. We crossed into Libya, and Gaddafi was still in power there, but we had some fabulous camps and some bush camps and on the coast, and of course incredible Roman ruins, unbelievable. Then we crossed into Tunisia. The markets were unbelievable all through northern Africa, and we got to Ras Shalik, which is the northernmost tip of Africa. We caught a ferry to Sicily, and then onto the mainland of Italy. Of course, we went to Pompeii, which is crowded with tourists, but it's still a pretty impressive place. Then up through Italy, Lucerne, the line of Lucerne. Mark Twain called that one of the most magnificent carvings he's ever seen. The line of Lucerne, beautiful place, beautiful city. And then we headed to the battlefields of northern France, and then across to the UK. And we basically left our vehicle in the UK, came home for a couple of months. We'd been on the road for 10 months, and came home for a couple of months, and then went back and started to go through the UK and Scotland. Saw the Beefeater Guards. And the Roman ruins of Vindolanda on the Hadrian's Wall, and right up into northwest Scotland. Beautiful part of the world. Some fabulous camping up there. I mean, we had great weather. And then we caught a ferry across to Norway and wandered up through Norway.
Wandered.
Had some fabulous camps above the Arctic Circle. This is, well and truly above the Arctic Circle, right on the coast. Just a fantastic spot to camp. cost us nothing. Having said that, Norway's a pretty expensive place to travel through. We got to North Cape, and you're in the northernmost point of Europe, and you're pretty remote, I guess. But the car park's full of tourist buses and hundreds of cars, and bloke on a penny farthing push bike that had ridden up from bloody southern France, and motorbikes, and so it's incredible. And then we crossed into Russia and went to St. Petersburg, then into Moscow. And I tell everybody, if you're going to go to Russia and go to Moscow and St. Petersburg, see Moscow first and then St. Petersburg. Because if you go the other way around, you'll be disappointed with Moscow. This is Red Square. But St. Petersburg is probably the only city certainly in Russia that I'd ever go back to, and one of the few in the world that I really enjoyed. Then it was out into the villages, getting water. This is how the people live. You hear a lot about the police in Russia, and it was probably one of the few countries we never got hit up for a bribe. This is the closest we got. These two guys wanted a bottle of vodka from us, but we said we didn't have any. So we said, can we take a photograph? Yeah, no, they were tops. But, it was the only country we never got hit up for a bribe. Camping in gravel pits were the norm in Russia. Then into Kazakhstan, as you can see, these guys had come along and we'd talk to them for a while in sign language and God knows what. And then we gave them a couple of ARB caps, which they thought were pretty cool. Met this young guy who was cooking kebabs on the side of the road and had cold beer as we headed down to the Aral Sea. And then we picked up the Silk Roads, one of the Silk Roads through Kazakhstan. This is a beautiful country in the northwest of Kazakhstan. And then we're into Mongolia, where the people still live the traditional life. This is the vulture's mouth. Mongolia is just a fabulous place to travel in. It's just fantastic. Roads, tracks, basically. And you could just head off anywhere. And the people are herders and nomads and all that sort of stuff, and they relate to travellers. Where Russians don't, I've got to say. Most Russians wondered what the hell we were doing or where we were going. Especially once we left Moscow and St. Petersburg out in the sticks, they couldn't understand we were travelling just for the love of travel. And I don't know how it's become a world power, but this is sort of typical of Russia. This woman was incredible. We stopped in a village to buy some vegetables and stuff like that. You can normally pick that stuff up on the side of the road, and you go into a village and there's no signs on shops because everybody in the village knows where the shop is. So we sort of drove around and finally, you knock on a door and walk in, and you walk into a little booth, I guess, because yes, mine is 40 below in winter. So yes, where you get your raincoats off and you've got all your cold weather gear. And then you get into their lounge room, and of course you get in and go, oh, sorry. Then anyway, about the third house, we finally found the shop. And the shops over there only sell vodka, cigarettes, and a few special treats for kids. And because everybody grows their own vegetables, has their chooks and cows and sheep and all that sort of stuff. So buying bread is almost unheard of. And anyway, we were standing outside the shop wondering where in the hell we were going to get bread, and this woman came up to us and had heard us talking for bread, asking for bread, and she said, here, have some bread. And we tried to pay her, and she didn't want any, and then she took us to a grandma's place, which is this woman, and she gave us eggs and pumpkins and carrots and potatoes, and we were trying to give her money, and she wouldn't take it, and just so generous. It was phenomenal. And we sent photographs back to her and all that sort of stuff afterwards. It was unbelievable. Much different to the government, I've got to say. beautiful churches. Been a big revival in churches over there. These are ex-military guys just busking for some money. Then we shipped the vehicles to South America in a container, and most of our vehicles could go and fit into a container. Otherwise, it's roll on, roll off. Roll on, roll off is cheaper option, but not quite as secure. But yeah, so we shipped our vehicles in containers to South America, to Valparaiso in Chile, and then headed down through Chile, through that beautiful country, and then into Argentina, almost desert country, and incredible glaciers there, down in Torres del Paine National Park, which is just fabulous, to Ushuaia, which is the end of the road, the most southern place you can drive to in the world. And this is coming back up through Bolivia, Sala de Uyuni, the great salt lake, about 5 times bigger than, or 6 times bigger than Lake Eyre. And we camped on the edge there. The temperature went down to -20 that night. And then it was the death road in Bolivia down into the Amazon. And we met this family. She's taken a group of pine nuts to market. She was a little cutie. She had her dad along with her, and they were taking the 10-mile trek to the village to sell their goods. When you get bogged at 16,500 feet, it takes an awful lot of effort on everybody's part to get the cars out. I mean, you could only swing on a shovel for a couple of swings before you're breathless, and the poor old vehicles were breathless as well. As you can see, the amount of smoke the big Ford's pushing out at the moment. But yeah, that was fairly typical of being up at 16,000 feet. This is crossing the Andes, spectacular country. Machu Picchu, you've got to do the tourist things occasionally. And then as we came up through Central America, the Central American Spaniards and stuff like that, you know, they just love a demonstration, love a political demonstration. We got caught up in a couple, and they were as all friendly as all hell. They not a problem, just couldn't go anywhere. We just sat in the traffic for half a day, 3/4 of a day or something, until the government official came along and pleaded with them to open the highway again and let all the vehicles through. But yeah, just fun. You just got to be flexible. Into Tikal, which is one of the great Mayan monuments in Central America. This is typical of the road there. And then we got into Mexico and crossed over to Baja, which, think of Northwest Cape in Western Australia, but it's 1,600 kilometres long, Baja, and just fabulous, just fabulous. We're going back there as soon as I can. This is camped on a beach out of the middle, nobody around us. This is another camp put in by a local village, and you stay there for about $5 a night. And it's just fantastic. The water's warm and pretty calm, as you can see. Then we cross back into the mainland to Pichahoan, which is the great monuments to the pyramids of the sun and the moon, just outside Mexico City. I mean, you can spend bloody days around these places. And then while we're in Mexico City, we flew down to Cuba and had a couple of weeks in Cuba. I'm a bit of a Hemingway fan, so Cuba was his home for a number of years, and you can have a beer with him at La Ferrita Hotel and see his monuments and everything are everywhere in Havana. Of course, you got to go for a drive in one of these old American vehicles. And then we cross back out of Mexico into Texas and do Big Bend National Park, where you can walk across the border of the Rio Grande there. Yeah, that's the border between Mexico and Texas, and you can just walk across the border there. And they still haven't built a wall. New Mexico, one of our great states. I just love travelling to New Mexico. And then into Utah. This is near Muley Point, which is just north. You can see Monument Valley in the background. Just a fabulous place to camp. You can camp right on the rim of Glen Canyon, right on the rim, as close as you dare to camp. You've heard, most of you would have heard of Moab, and it's one of our favourite places, incredible forward driving, and you got a lot of this red rock. And I can remember we were getting the truck, this is our truck in America, we were getting our truck serviced in Moab, and it's 15-minute service time, and I was standing there waiting to pick up my truck, and this American goes, "You Australian?" And I went, "Yeah, I am." And he said, "What is it with you guys and that one red rock in Central Australia?" And I went, "Yeah, you got a point there, mate," because there's miles of red rock in Utah. Absolutely miles, and you can drive over it, under it, around it, through it. Just fabulous. Just some of the national parks are just incredible. And while the national parks are really busy, this place was 10 minutes drive away from those really busy national parks, and we had this place to ourselves for a couple of days. Little mountain stream, little spring coming out from the cliffs, crystal clear water, deer walking through every night, every evening. Yeah, just fantastic. And then one year we took a houseboat on Lake Powell and wandered again through Red Rock country, and found our way into Rainbow Bridge. This is summer in Colorado, in the high passes of Colorado. One thing you got to be used to when you're traveling in the States is be flexible, because we were in the Rocky Mountains back in 2019, sorry, and it was my third effort to drive through the Rocky Mountains in summer, and we only just got through. They closed the road behind us because of a blizzard. So you just got to be really flexible when you're travelling in the States because of these high passes and all that sort of stuff. This was in the middle of summer, Black Bear Pass. They just pushed the road through the day before, and we'd met some people in a campground, and they said, "Oh, you got to go back and just drive that whole pass. It's just fantastic." And you can see how much snow falls up there, and yeah, they just pushed the dozers through the day before. Into Alberta in Canada, and then up through Canada, across the Arctic Circle, heading into Alaska, following the pipeline up to Prudhoe Bay, and then we caught the ferry out to Sitka. Sitka was the Russian capital of Alaska before the Americans bought the whole of Alaska for $7 million. Pretty good deal, I reckon. Beautiful place, just fabulous. And these ferries run out there every day. Although it took us an overnight trip to get there, but yeah, it's just fabulous place. And then we flew out to Brooks Lodge by float plane, and this is where the bears fish for salmon in the waterfalls. And we were off the peak. We weren't there in the peak. To get the peak of the time, which I think is in the third week of June, you've got to book 2 years in advance. We booked a year in advance and got beginning of July or something like that. We were just off the peak, and they'd had 16 bears feeding on these waterfalls during the peak. They were down to 8 when we were there. But yeah, it's a pretty impressive place. You get so close to the bears. This one's been in a fight, as you can see. He's got scars on his back where he's been fighting. trying to hold his position on, because all the biggest bears get the best spots, and then the young bears come along and give them a bit of curry and try to take over, and the big bear beats the crap out of them. And then we got. I heard about this road that you could drive in winter on the ice roads north to Takatoya Tuk, and so we arranged to fly in there and hire a couple of Chevys, which had oil heaters in their sump pan, and you could plug your truck into power at night, and that would keep the oil circulating, the engine not from freezing and all that sort of stuff. So we flew up and hired a couple of Chevys and drove up to Takatoya Tuk, and which you follow the Mackenzie River for 160 kilometres. Sorry, we're in Canada now, and down the frozen river. It's a shipping lane in summer, and then out across the Arctic Ocean for another 40 kilometres. And the roads are designed to carry semi-trailers. So although even with a Chevy Suburban over them, they still creaked and groaned a bit, but the ice was about 4 foot thick, so they weren't in danger of falling through or anything. That was probably the coldest night we had, sleeping in an igloo. One trip, I rafted the Grand Canyon for 12 days, from mile 0 to mile 220. This is Canyon de Chelly in the north of Arizona, not far from the Grand Canyon, really. Impressive place. It's an Indian national park, and pretty impressive. It's where the Indians held out against the American government for a long, long time, until Kit Carson led a party in there, and the Indians had their fortresses up on top of these big bluffs. But he forced them out and led them on a march into the valley. It was called the March of Tears. Hundreds died and all that sort of stuff. And the Indians have never really forgiven Kit Carson for that, although he tried to get them back into their homeland, but to no avail until more recently. That's our truck on the Blue Ridge Parkway and heading up to Washington, which I've got to say was fantastic. I mean, there's something like 17 Smithsonian museums in Washington, and they're all free and they are fantastic. The Space and Aeronautical Museum is just fabulous. This is the first vehicle to travel across America from one coast to the other back in 1904. But the Aerospace Museum, I mean, I get boggled over by museums in a few hours generally, but that Aerospace Museum was sort of 8 hours in there, and it's just gobsmacking. It also has a McDonald's in there with 54 counters. And the Yanks do their battlefields pretty well. This is Gettysburg, into New York. Didn't enjoy New York too much. We spent a week there. Glad to leave. Up into Canada, out to Cape Spears, which is the most easterly point of the North American continent. Then up into Newfoundland, and we were as far away as we could get from Australia, 180 degrees, and as far north as we could get in a little lake of not Nova Scotia, and Quebec, northern Quebec. Then back into the United States, South Dakota, one of our favourite states. Some great camping in there, free camping in the state forest. Get yourself a raccoon cap or a bear cap or fox cap or whatever you want. This is not far from Mount Rushmore, and the Indians, the Sioux, wanted to build a monument to Crazy Horse, and this was started in 1939. And they don't take any money from on the American government at all. It's all funded by donations and visitors, and twice a year you can walk out on the arm up here And as you can see, it's a pretty impressive monument. It's got to take another 100 years to build, to finish, but it's Crazy Horse on a horse. And you can see the outline of the horse down through here. And yeah, they've got a lot of work still to do, but at 2 days a year, you can walk out on the arm, and we planned a trip just so we could do that. There's some fabulous camping grounds in the National Forest, and another great battlefield, Custer's Last Stand, and then into Yosemite, and then the Grand Tetons National Park, which is probably my most favourite park in North America. It's just spectacular. You got this flat plain, you got the Snake River. We're heading into the Snake River, this incredible river that winds right through there. Wyoming, Montana, Idaho, just a fabulous river to travel along, and we've travelled along a lot of it. And you get these flat plains, and they just rear up to these mountain peaks that top out at about 15,000 feet. And yeah, just fantastic place to travel. This is in Idaho. This is in Yankee Forts in Idaho. Lots of ruins, lots of places. This is going into Hell's Canyon in Oregon. I'm going to do this trip the next time, is float down the river. And this is in the middle of summer, and it's bloody cold. This is one of the great crater lakes in Oregon. And then slipping into Washington. You don't see Washington like this very often. Like Mount Rushmore, and then onto the coast. And if the name rings a bell, it's Cape Flattery in Washington, named by Captain Cook, and he named another cape in Australia, Cape Flattery, which some of you would have been to, I guess, up on Cape York. That's Cape Flattery. Then you head down the Oregon coast. And then into southern Oregon, northern California, to those great trees. And into Yosemite National Park, which is a fantastic place. And those trees are just mind-blowing. Anyway, that's it. That's our quick trip around the world. So there you go. I'll stop share, shall I? Yeah, there we go.
Great. Well done, Ron. Absolutely fantastic. I've never seen so many faces on the panelist panel glued to their sets. Sandra, Tanner, your glasses must be just nearly falling off. You just look spectacularly interested in those photos.
Yeah, well, yeah, we've been lucky enough to, like I said, we've got a vehicle in North America, and go over there every year now. When we first started traveling around the world, we'd spend 10 months overseas and wandered through Africa and Russia and all that sort of stuff, South America. And then we sort of cut back to 6 months for North America for a couple of years. And now we sort of go over there for, 2 to 3 months and wander down into Mexico or up into Alaska or whatever we want. And we were supposed to ship our vehicles to Europe this year and wander across Europe into Iran and the stands and all that sort of stuff, but COVID got in the way of that, so we've just put that on the back burner for a little while. But yeah, so it's a fabulous way to travel, and there's an awful lot of Australians out there doing it, doing a lot more than us. And I guess the traveller I met who's done the most that I've come across was a German couple, and the Germans are incredible travellers. And this German couple have been on the road for 30 years, been to 190 countries, and he travelled in a clapped out bloody Iveco van, and every night they would prop up in a little. We met him in a couple of camping grounds in Argentina. And he'd bring out a little table and a tablecloth and a candelabra with 4 candles in it. and he'd bring out his goblets, silver goblets, and his bottle of wine, and he'd have a drink at his meal. And I mean, he was just phenomenal, and he was a great guy. And in fact, a young couple came in, and their car had blown up 2 months into their round the world trip. And he spent 4 days working on the car for them and got it going again, and all that sort of stuff at no charge or anything like that. And they're the sort of people you meet on the road. I mean, people really help you out, and yeah, it's just really good. And there's a real community of people out there. And nowadays with Facebook and all that sort of stuff, you can keep in touch with people and get in touch with people. And yeah, so there's a big community of people traveling around the world by vehicle and motorbike. We met a young woman who'd been 5 years on the road on a Honda bike, on a Honda motorbike. We met a couple of French couple who'd been pedaling a push bike around the world. We met who's become a good friend now, Robert, who spent 4 years riding a push bike around the world. And this guy was a history teacher at a school in England. Big guy, big black ex-Jamaican guy, and he saw a video on TV of this guy who rode a push bike around the world, and he thought, I can do that. So he went down to his local bike shop. Said, he looked at the video and said, oh, that's the sort of bike I want. That's the sort of panniers I want. So he walked down to his local bike shop and said, this is what I want. Bloke said, geez, that's good gear, mate. What are you going to do with that? He said, I'm going to ride around the world. The bloke said, you going to do any training? Because he was a bit overweight. And he said, no, that's got to happen on the road, mate. And that's what happened. So when he set off, his best day was 23 kilometres on the first day. And when we met him in South America, he just knocked over 230K in a day, and that was through the Atacama Desert.
Right.
So,
all right.
Fantastic. Great guys.
Fantastic, Ron. I've got a couple of questions being asked, and the couple of comments are Judith Williams says, wonderful photos, Ron. Matt McPhee says, entertaining as usual, Ron Moon, great adventures. And the questions I have, Christina Gladigale says, great photos. But the questions I have is one from John Mills. Great pictures of the definition, superb. What camera are you using?
I've always used Nikon stuff up until recently, and then I started using little Sony mirrorless cameras, and I've sort of just bought a latest Sony mirrorless as well. Okay. And I've just found them, a lot lighter. The latest Sony mirrorless are full frame and all that sort of thing. And they just turn out great still photographs and really good video and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, I use. I'm tending to swap all my gear over to Sony mirrorless, and then of course for a lot of video, I've got a drone and all that sort of stuff, and GoPro, and it's all good. Anyway,
all right, I got a question about something else, and this is from Tony Bryan, who is a T-van owner, and he says, I bet the T-van went well. It looks like you only used it for a short stint. Do you leave it there?
No, we took it to South America, and we had 10 months in South America, Central America with it, and then we had 6 months in North America with it. And then you're only allowed to have a vehicle in a foreign country under normal regulations for 12 months, if you're lucky, at the most. So we had to ship our patrol out of North America after 12 months. In fact, we were 12 days late, and we got a hand smack for that. But anyway, that's another story. And so we shipped that back to Australia with the T-van. And that's when we decided we'd buy something in the United States and tour with that. And that's when we went and bought a Dodge Ram 2500 and put a slide-on camper on. I sold a Nissan Patrol, a 2006 Nissan Patrol in 2014, and I went to the States with that money and bought a 2006 Dodge Ram and put a brand new slide-on camper on it for the same money. So there you go.
Sorry, I just had to close the door. Someone was talking on the phone in the other room. I have a question from Jan Chivers. Do you have a language problem, or is English spoken?
A lot of sign language. Yeah, it's marvelous what you do with. I mean, in South America, I mean, Russia was difficult. It was really hard. People didn't want to know you. People thought you were spies. They couldn't relate to travellers for travellers' sake, etc., etc. So Russia was pretty hard work. Yeah, my wife didn't want to go to South America. I convinced her to do that, and she loved it. And the people of South America were just fantastic. And we didn't speak much Spanish. We tried to learn a few words, to be polite and yes, thank you, hello, all that sort of stuff. And but yeah, you make do, a bit of sign language and at pointing at stuff and whatever. And the same in Africa and all that sort of stuff. But and occasionally we met somebody. I mean, we were crossing the Russian-Kazakhstan border, and we were having troubles getting through the Russian place. We were accused of being spies, and we had a young Kazakh guy came up to us, and he could speak good English, and he stayed with us for 3 or 4 hours while we got through the border.
Great. All right. Well, I don't have any more questions. I think everyone's mesmerised by your photos, Ron. So they've just been enjoying them. They were fantastic. I certainly found on my new laptop, which is 4K, some of those African photos were just sensational. So crystal clear, beautiful. They really were. So well done to you.
We've done a lot of trips to Africa. I led 4-wheel drive tag-along tours in Africa for a few years, and Africa's a pretty special place. So we've had a lot of opportunity. My son leads trips there now. This year supposed to be a good one, but anyway, there you go.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on tonight, Ron. It's been absolutely fantastic, and I'm sure that we may have some more questions later. I don't know, but if you want to hang around, you're quite welcome. But we're going to move along. We're going to move along with the rest of our meeting, and I'm going to call in Chris Trevor, Driver Awareness Coordinator, to give his report.
Thanks, Laurie. Good evening, everyone. It was a bit of a very slow into 2020. We had a couple of groups towards during the month of November, just some small groups, and we put through, I think the last group, we put through about 5 people, new members to the club, which is good. We're just in the process now of getting everything mapped out. We're going to have a very busy 2021. And I think at this stage, it's probably, we've got about 5 or 6 months ahead of us, where we're going to have some very big DA things to get through and catch up with the ones that we haven't been able to put through in the last 12 months or so. So busy time, and emails are fast and furious going between parties trying to organise. First of all, we've got the first one we go back is in February, and basically I think at the moment that looks like it's fairly full, but I'm going to spread it out and give people the opportunity to nominate a date when they'd like to come up based on the calendar that's now been approved by the committee as such. And I think that's about all of it to say at this stage, but yes, we're going to have a very busy start to the year. Thanks very much.
All right, thanks, Chris. Liz Mills, Education Convener.
Hi, everybody. Fantastic presentation, Ron. I'm very jealous of that. Now, thank you very much to David and Duncan, who did the tyre repair course in October. They had about 15 people, I think, do that, and apparently there were some very good reports of that. So thank you very much for your time to do that. And I'm sure there'll be a few more people on the waiting list that will be waiting to see if you do another course another time. Now, I've just organised today and haven't had a chance to advertise it yet, so you'll need to watch out for this one shortly. We have Justin Gill, who was on the Zoom last month. He's going to come up and do a HEMA mapping course for you on the 6th and 7th of February. So watch out for that. You'll be starting at 9 o'clock in the morning. We only have 20 places at the moment. So I think this might be a fairly popular course. So look into that as soon as I've got Laurie to put on to the website. And those who don't get in, put your names in for the waiting list. And I'm sure we can get Justin to do another one at a later stage. Now, the first aid course, the 20th and 21st of February, I have 10 people already booked in for that. All the details are on the website, so have a look at that and book in. And also the CPR course, that again is a certificate course, and it is recommended that you update it every 12 months. And that will go for about 3 hours on the Saturday morning of the 20th of February. So the same day as the first aid course starts, but it will only be for a short time. Now also we have the photography course for beginners in March 13th and 14th, and that's up at Yark. Unfortunately, we're only taking 8 members at this stage because we want more of a one-on-one experience for that. But again, put yourself on the waiting list and I'm sure we can organise something else another time. All the details again are on the website for you. And also I have now confirmed a chainsaw course on the 14th, 15th and 16th of May. I'm still yet to get a confirmation from them about the cost of that, and hopefully that will be a club member price. This is a certificate course, and you will need to have that certificate if you want to do any chainsawing at all at the club property, or if ever you want to go and help them with DWELP, Department of Environment, Water, Land and Planning. You will have to supply all your own PPE and Australian standard chainsaw. Again, details will be up on the website before too long, so watch out for that one and book in. There will be a limited number of people, so if you're interested, get yourself on that. And I'm also liaising with a couple of people at the moment, one to do with radio communications. So watch out for that one. And later on, we'll be talking about doing a wheel bearing course and a bush mechanics course. So there'll be a number of things coming up in the new year. So I'll keep you informed of what's happening with that through the magazine, through the website and Facebook as well. And to finish off, I'm just wishing you all a wonderful Christmas and New Year. If you're going on any travels, have safe travels, and hopefully we will catch up with you at the Melbourne or the club in January, hopefully, and it'd be lovely to see everybody again. So enjoy your holidays and we'll see you next year. Bye.
Thanks, Liz. Christina Gladigale's put a note, looking forward to the first aid course, Liz. So there's some feedback from someone probably doing the course.
Good.
Okay.
It is a great course that one of the club members' sons does. So he has a lovely fun course, so you'll enjoy it.
James, yeah. Good. All right. Thanks, Liz. Our Yark Management Coordinator, Brian Stewart, over to you.
Good evening, everybody. It's been a great year as far as support from the team. They've been outstanding all year, and we've managed to have our monthly Yark Management meetings and talk about all the things that we'd like to be doing. It's been good. Now this last weekend just gone, it was a 3-day weekend with well, a few of us there on sort of Thursday evening, so we were right into it on Friday, and we had 20 members there for the weekend. It was a very, very warm weekend, and everyone earned their happy hours at the end of the day, I can assure you of that. And a lot of discussion, and we talked about all the things that everybody had done during the day. And when you're out and about sort of doing a job, you really don't know what everybody else has been up to. So it's good that we sort of had that round table discussion and find out what everybody's doing. There was a lot of trees trimmed back along the track, the T tree, and that was done on the Saturday, and then on the Sunday that was all collected and taken to an area and dumped. There was a lot of spraying done as well along the track, and that's there was some tea tree that was growing on the dam wall in the 40 acres. We were going to remove that, but it got sprayed, so we'll look at that next month and see how that's going. A lot of equipment maintenance done, particularly on the mowing equipment, and there was a damaged arm on the tractor which Ken had taken back taken back last month and had it repaired, brought it back and replaced it. So that worked well. And once again, I delegated Brenda to tackle the COVID assessment forms and the temperature checks. She did that very capably last month, so she was only too willing to take that on again this month. And the girls got into, they got the vacuum cleaner out and they vacuumed all the couches and debugged them and flipped them upside down and looked for money. And yeah, I don't think they found any money, but anyway, they certainly cleaned them all. Down at the Birch Hut, all the excess material that's sort of been left over from the construction and what have you, that was all cleaned up and removed. And the vintage combine harvester that's down there, that was put into a different spot and stabilised. And Eamon is putting together some of history on that. So there's going to be some information down there about that very soon. There were bricks that were cut to be put around the fire pits, the tractor rims. So some of those were done, and they look pretty good. There was water pumped, and then at the old cable that went up from out the back of the hut that went up to the fire siren at the top of the hill, that was removed because it's in the way for access to the multi-purpose building. And the old cable was just taken out, and Traco has redone on the other side of the track underground a whole lot of cables and bits and pieces, and he finalised that, and then tested the fire system, the fire alarm. So that worked well. Nobody sort of came running, but one of the guys sort of announced over the CB that this was just a test run, so there was no need to panic about that. A lot of the garden areas were cleaned up, and yeah, lots of weeds. A lot of them got pulled out, and there was an area down the side of the hut that needed to be looked at where the gardens were, because when the guys sort of used the ladder up the side of the hut to clear the gutters and what have you, the ground wasn't real stable. So had a couple of members got stuck into that, and they did a fantastic job. They were actually Matthew and Janet Bennett from Geelong. It was their first weekend that they'd been up there for a maintenance weekend. And also Rob mentioned before that Andrew, he was also from Geelong. He came up and had a great weekend, and he reckons he's coming back again. But, even though we've worked him really hard, or Rob worked him really hard, mixing concrete and what have you. But yeah, we had a great time. Eamon's been working on safety procedures for our equipment, and the procedure that he's put together for the chainsaw, that was took that out, and they sort of put that and tested that to see how that actually worked. A couple of little tweaks on that, and it's ready to run. So it's good to see that Liz has organised another chainsaw course coming up. So we need a few more people who are qualified to operate chainsaws. And yeah, it was a great weekend. A great weekend. I was lucky. I stayed up there Sunday night. Nice, peaceful, quiet. Butterflies came around there. Oh, people, some of the campers up there said that they'd seen the koala, heard and seen the koala again. So that's really good that they're back again. Yeah, well, that's about all that I've got to say. I just wish everyone, enjoy your Christmas, and if you're out and about travelling, travel safely. And then we'll see you next year, and the dates are going to be in next month's magazine, if they're not already in this month's magazine, I'm not sure. But the dates for the maintenance weekends certainly be in there. Look forward to seeing you up there then. Okay, thanks, Laurie.
Thanks, Brian. Great report. And I see that you're going to be up at Yark over the New Year, so if you want to see Brian, go and book into Yark. Okay, I'm going to call in Alison Williams, the Geelong branch president. Alison.
Thank you, Laurie. Hello, everybody. We had a terrific barbecue at Maud at the end of November. Had over 20 there, great weather. And as Ian said, they're lovely facilities. If anyone needs a free overnight camp up that way, they have free camping, showers and toilets and everything else available for you. We didn't have a meeting in December. We had a bit of a glitch with the room, so we just had a coffee. We've got a barbecue in the Yuyangs on Sunday, January the 10th, which everyone's welcome to. We had that the last few years. You can bring your dogs if you like. It was called Dogs Day Out at one stage because we had about 15 dogs. We have the ARB Open Day. We're cooking their sausage sizzle for them, and that's in February. We've got a camp host, we hope, at Dando's on the long weekend in March. We're still to hear back from Forward Drive Victoria about that. If not, we'll still be camping down there. So bring your camp ovens, and we'll be doing some, Greg's doing some damper sessions, and we'll be doing some camp oven cooking for a roast for the Saturday night. And just want to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas and hope next year we'll all be back to normal. Thanks, Laurie.
Thanks, Alison. I thought I went to Dog's Day Out when I called in and stayed at your mum's a few weeks ago. I was inundated from a lot of little poodles, but I assume they're not the ones you're referring to.
I'm down to
sorry?
I'm down to 5. They all go home this week.
Okay, good. All right, I'm going to call in Viv Gardner, our trip convener.
Sorry, I've got 2 screens and my mouse was on the other one.
What about that one in the background?
Santa, he's my little friend. We've got 2 trips listed, new trips listed on the website. My apologies to Michael if I get his surname wrong. Kimberley Dust and Corrugations, Michael Shuki, I think, is running that, and it's in May, June 2021. I'm not 100% sure if it's full, but put your name down on the wait list and Michael will get back to you. And also, Steve and Sue Smith are running a trip to Wonnegata on the 16th and 17th of January. So that at the moment is all we've got going. And there is a few trips there. I'm not sure if Chris and Greg Burr have got any vacancies on theirs still. I haven't rung Chris, so I should have rung her and asked her. Baz and I'd like to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and hopefully we'll all get out on the tracks a bit more next year. And any trip leaders looking to put up some trips for the members, I know the members would be very grateful. Okay, thank you very much, Laurie.
Thanks, Viv. Good to see some new trips up there. And that Wonnegata one, we did sneak into the magazine when it comes out tomorrow. You will see that being advertised in there as well. It's already on the website. Sandra, special events, anything to say?
Just very quickly, we've got 2 shows coming up next year. March, we've got the Mornington show, which we had to close down early this year because of COVID, unfortunately. That's in May. In March, I beg your pardon. And May, we've got the Geelong show, which we've booked for as well. So I'll be nagging for members to come and assist. I'll put the dates in and everything in the next magazine. It won't be in the December one. It'll be in the January one. And I want to see a lot of members giving us a hand to get this going and see if we can get some new members, and also see the show and see what's up for sale so that members can get started on their trips again. So that's all I've got to report at the moment. Thank you. And before I go, Merry Christmas to you all, and a very, very happy new year, a very safe, happy new year, and a very healthy new year. And we all look forward to seeing you again face to face and having a coffee and enjoying each other's company like we always do. All the best to you all.
I'm going to call Forge Vallela, the Cruiser Carter coordinator, in.
Thanks, Laurie. I'd just like to say final update for the year.
Got a bit more volume there, Forge. You're a bit low on volume.
Is that better?
No.
Is that better?
You're not the loudest.
Not the loudest. What about now? So I'd just like to thank everyone that was part of
That's better.
Committee this year. We did a lot of review this year. We reviewed the competition as a whole. That included the events and the rules. So we're excited about hosting the event next year. And given the COVID restrictions, we can we think that we'll be in a good place to be able to announce that the competition will go ahead in the new year, but we'll wait till March to make that decision official. We've also penciled in the 22nd to the 24th of October next year to conduct the event. So just keep that in mind in your diaries. And to those new members, you're more than welcome to participate. When we seek for volunteers, we're going to need a lot of volunteers to help with that event. More than happy to have you participate in that. We're also one of the things that was quite special this year. We got Laurie with some support from the club members to put together some Cruisacana videos, and I believe tonight we're doing 2008, the Cruisacana event of 2008. So over to you, Laurie, to play the event. Thank you.
Yeah.
You got disqualified on the balancing beam. Why?
I did. Well, the idea is to balance on that thing, right? And I thought, well, I've just got on the point of balance and I'll just throw the clutch a little bit just to hold it there, and the damn thing rolled backwards. DNF. Can you imagine that?
This event's called the Flag Slalom, and what we're trying to do here is make it as fair for all the competitors.
No, the other way.
The object to this is a stump climb where they get the right hand wheel up on top of the stump.
What's that?
Vehicles at either end. It is it's a total voluntary event for each competitor, and good fun. So, well, good chance to all the people, and sit back and enjoy the action.
That was a good event. There'll be more of that next year.
Great. Good. Wonderful. And thanks to Steve McAdam. I think it was Steve that did that one, wasn't it, Viv? Yep, she's nodding her head. Yes, Steve McAdam put that together. On that note, we're almost at the end of our meeting. We're over to questions and answers, and I'm going to handball the questions and answers over to our President, Ian Ross. Come in, Ian.
Thank you again, Laurie. Okay, so just a couple of things I wanted to raise. Finally, fabulous meeting. Thanks very much, Laurie, for hosting tonight. Ron Moon, thank you so much for your presentation tonight. I agree with you, John Mills. The clarity of those photos was unbelievable. And some of those photos just absolutely blew me away, and just in such a short period of time to give us a whole trip around the world was amazing. Maybe next time we'll get you back to talk about Australia. A closing note to Sandra and Brian, fantastic 30-year contribution to the club for the magazine. That is outstanding. And that's the depth of volunteer work in this club that we have. We are so very grateful. I'm very grateful. I'm sure all the club members are very grateful. So thank you all for staying with us tonight. Again, thank you, Ron Moon. Love to see you back. I've never met you in person, but I'd love the opportunity. Thank you so much again to everybody. And thanks also to Rob LaVersha and to Laurie Miles for putting this meeting on tonight and just making it all happen. Back to you, Laurie.
Right, good. Okay, well, that's it about for tonight's meeting, guys. Thanks for everyone for coming along. Thanks for Ian's comments. And on that note, I am going to play the farewell and see you again on Tuesday, the 19th of January at 7:30 in 2021.